Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Saturday morning to you all. I hope you guys are feeling well out there and having a great start to your weekend. I know it's pretty damp for a lot of people, especially if you live in the southeast, but we're going to break down the weather for today. We're going to give you an update on the tropics. We're going to talk about this cold front that's actually moving through portions of the country right now as I speak, and this same cold front will actually influence the weather for portions of the eastern U.S. as we get into early this coming week, which could bring a lot of folks, including areas in the south, their first taste of real fall weather as we get into really Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of this coming week, which is really good news for any cooler weather fans who's really been looking for a break from the summer heat and humidity. But we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the fact that there's a little bit of a tornado threat across areas of the Carolinas and Georgia today. We'll talk about the flooding risk too, which this is day one of a big push of moisture out the Gulf of Mexico that's happening right now. So, guys, I want to thank y'all for y'all's prayers. It's been a trying week. It really has, but it looks like that everything is finally simmering down somewhat. The plumbing issues are done. I got all my plumbing redone in my house, and it turns out that they didn't have to knock down any walls. They didn't have to take out any tile, guys, and that's a huge blessing because that was going to be a second portion of the repair. So it turns out, as always, God is good, and even what I was going through is not significant at all. People, have bad health. People are out there and they've lost a child, so in a way, you almost feel bad for praying for something like plumbing issues. But of course, we're all human. We go through things. But I appreciate people looking out, saying prayers for me. And I've also been sick. So if I have to take little pauses in the videos, it's because I'm trying to catch my breath. But I'm on the ending of whatever sickness I have. So appreciate y'all's support. Appreciate the family atmosphere. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. Hit me up on social media. And if you guys got anything that I can pray about, please put it in the comments below. It gives me an opportunity to pray over it, and it gives others an opportunity to do so too. Let's get rolling. So, big old breath. Let's take a look at a water vapor loop. So this is what's left over of Earl, and I wouldn't say what's left over because technically it's still a 105 mile per hour hurricane as of the 5 a.m. update. There might be another update by the time here I get to this panel. And then you see basically the watercolors you see on this, that is the higher moisture content in the atmosphere. So you got an invest right here that we thought maybe several days ago would have ended up being a named storm. It is not. And then we're watching another area that's going to try to get going in this. And there's some hints that it's going to stay weak potentially and make it all the way into the southwest Atlantic. And then if it does, then we need to watch it. But it's hard to take anything serious in the long range when it comes to the tropics this hurricane season. It really is. So big push of tropical moisture making its way into the Gulf states and will continue throughout the next probably 48 to 72 hours. Update per the latest 8 a.m. update on the National Hurricane Center. We have a 105 mile per hour storm in Earl, Hurricane Earl. It's probably making some big time swells for Newfoundland, Nova Scotia. But weather-wise, as far as what's falling from the sky, maybe some breezy conditions, but, nothing very impactful for you folks up there. Outside of that, nothing expected in the next 48 hours, the next 5 days. We'll watch this. This is an area of interest that has a 30% chance to develop in the next 5 days. This could potentially be that wave that we just need to watch, but it's not concerning at all as of right now. Storm Prediction Center. This is the tricky one today, guys. It really is, and we'll talk a little bit on this. A marginal risk, and I know you're thinking, well, that's not a big risk of severe weather, but there's a boundary that's going to ride up through Florida, through Georgia, throughout the morning hours, make its way into South Carolina, and there's almost going to be like a mini triple point, which is basically where you're going to have your best parameters for an isolated tornado threat, to make a long story short. So there's going to be a boundary, which is basically sometimes where a wind direction is moving in two different directions, and they meet up against each other. And with just a moist profile to the south of the boundary, there's going to be a little bit of a spin to the atmosphere today. So, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these storms today have a spin to them. So, and you look at this, the tornado threat today, there's a 2% risk of a tornado in 25 miles in any given location. This includes Wilmington, Charleston, Myrtle Beach, Columbia, Fayetteville. So, sorry guys, if I cough during the video, I do apologize. I know that, it's probably very loud on your audios, but I'm still getting over this sickness. So bear with me, guys. I really appreciate it. There will be a wind threat with this too, just due to these parameters in place. So we'll watch for this today. There is a flooding risk today, a slight risk of flash flooding occurring. That is at least a 15% risk of flash flood guidance being met. And that's just because you have a big giant push of moisture. And we're seeing this today. And in fact, we'll pull up radar scope, see if we can, we're in San Diego still from yesterday. But, we look at Columbia, big push of moisture moving through the Piedmont of North Carolina, and just still a lot of moisture developing still north of Columbia. But what we'll watch for today, and I'll try to zoom out here, there's going to be a break in the moisture somewhere in here. And this is actually not good. Even though I think a lot of forecasts thought today that that this was just going to be a widespread rain. Well, that's not the case. A lot of models have been hinting that there would be a break today. So it looks like there's going to be a break here. This is going to allow for maybe some breaks in the clouds. Allows for some instability. It puts some juice to the atmosphere. If you get some sun to pop out through these clouds today, you're thinking, wow, today actually might be a nice day. But what all this is going to do is provide definitely some fuel to the atmosphere. And we're watching these little pieces, these little storms right here. These need to be watched that are moving into the Myrtle Beach area. All these could provide a little bit of spin today. So we'll watch for that. Watches and warnings. I'm showing you this mainly because check this out. Look at the blue up here. Those are frost advisories. Winter is coming, guys. I mean, we're in our second week of September. So it just tells you that the cooler air mass is on the way. So that's good news for cooler weather fans. Not too cool, especially for the south, but it'll definitely feel like a fall crisp air mass for a couple days, I think, next week, especially in the morning. But some flood watches up. You got some flood watches up for areas of North Carolina, right in the middle of the state. And then the Big Bend, Panhandle, and western coastline of Florida down to Tampa Bay, flood watches up. So a lot of rain can fall. We'll show you how much potentially here in a second. Latest HRRR model today. It's verifying decent. Got this push of moisture into North Carolina into the mountains. But like I said, watch for a little break right here. Then, you're getting into about the noon, the 1 p.m. Look at these storms developing in eastern South Carolina. And then more storms develop. All these could produce a quick spin up. They have the potential to. That doesn't mean they are. They have that 5% risk. But you never know when that 5% risk is on top of your house. So that's why you just got to be weather aware. But more storms will develop. But if you notice, South Carolina, for example, even North Carolina, anywhere, this isn't a widespread rain. It's not going to rain in all hours of the day today. It's just not. In fact, there might be some breaks in the clouds where the sun pops out and it warms up. But, you're getting into this evening. You might be chilling out, watching some college football. And then look at this big area of storms. They're in the Midlands of South Carolina, even North Carolina, Georgia. So, these are going to be moving over the same area. So flooding and then a severe risk today is certainly possible. And speaking of flooding and rain in general, between now and the next 24 hours, a lot of rain can fall in the Big Bend areas of Florida, in the Panhandle of Florida. Up to 1 to as much as 4 inches of rain could fall with just moisture continuing to pump in from the northeast Gulf of Mexico. And then you look into South Carolina today where a lot of this rain's already fell into North Carolina, as much as, saying maybe an inch of rain for Columbia, down here in Wilmington, Myrtle Beach, a couple inches of rain, Charlotte, a couple inches of rain could fall today. A damp Saturday. Even if it stops raining, you're probably not going to get many breaks of the clouds, if any at all. So you're not going to get much drying out. So in this immediate area, a lot of rain today, just a very damp Saturday. You're not going to get any yard work done. I know my grass has not been cut in about 8 or 9 days, which is in the south is a lot. Normally your yard's already starting to look kind of rough if you've been getting consistent rains. But we call this updraft helicity swath, so we'll watch this. And basically anywhere where you see a highlighted area of a color, just think of this as, hey, it's trying to tell you where a storm could potentially have a rotating updraft, which is what we look for when we see a spin in the atmosphere or maybe a quick tornado. But, we get into this evening, got to watch, north and northeast of Columbia. Maybe some of these storms will be spinning. So we certainly need to be careful and be wary of this for sure. Moving forward into the northeast. Sorry, guys. I had to take a little break there and just cough my lungs out there for a second. But the northeast, it's not going to be a very active day today. I think sometime throughout the afternoon hours, if you're in West Virginia, Eastern Kentucky, some light rain will make its way into the region. But as far as as far as, any storm activity, no, probably not. Now, maybe some heavier downpours in areas in Michigan, Indiana today, but just some showery weather in Pennsylvania, especially West Virginia. Some widespread light rains, and in Virginia and in Maryland and in Delaware. Some on and off showers are certainly possible, but as far as widespread heavy rain, I don't really see it. South Central U.S. today, we'll watch some storms that will develop in eastern Arkansas and northern Louisiana, and then kind of west central and western areas of Mississippi. And there'll be a little spin to them too, but the little epicenter of maybe showers and storms will be in this region. But you see all these showers and storms right here. This is associated with the cold front that is pushing through. So ahead of this cold front, some warm, humid air. Behind all this rain, cooler, drier air. So this is that cold front that's actually going to bring change the air mass, even for areas further east along the eastern U.S. So we'll watch this and see if it pops out any severe storms today. But if you're in Arkansas, southern Iowa, I think some showers and storms move through later this evening, even in eastern Kansas. So we'll look up here. I do apologize, guys. Sorry for the cough in my lungs out. I'm trying to make my way through this video. Hopefully I'll feel a little bit better this evening. But looking at this as far as the north central U.S. and the northern plains and the Midwest, it's looking like there will be just a round of showers that makes their way through the morning hours. So basically from now into around noon, expect some showers to make their way through areas like Minneapolis, the entire state of Iowa. They'll make their way through the northern half of Wisconsin. If you're in the UP and Michigan, I would expect some, mainly today, you'll probably experience a lot of light to moderate rain as this cold front pushes through. And then as we get into the evening hours, the rain will end and some cooler air will follow through. But ahead of this, you could definitely, with a moist air mass, get a stronger storm or two if you're in Illinois, Indiana, and southern areas of Michigan. So we'll watch out for that, but I'm not expecting really any widespread severe weather in this area. And here it goes. High temperatures today, but you'll notice this is a moving air mass. For example, you're waking up some cool temperatures in the northern plains and the northern areas of the Midwest, the north central U.S. But the warm up today, it'll warm up ahead of this cold front. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know where the cold front is on this map. Warmer temperatures ahead of the cold front, warm, moist air mass, but behind it, only temperatures in the 60s and 70s, but very dry air. And then there's this little area where there's only 50s and 60s for highs, where the cold front will actually pass through today when you'll have rain, clouds that will have to keep the temperatures down. The cold front will actually be moving through your areas today. If you're in Kansas, Iowa, Wisconsin, the UP, and Michigan, the cold front will actually be moving through. And then it will continue. You see how it's moving and sagging southeast. For example, if you're in Columbia, Missouri today, right in the middle of Missouri, it'll warm up to probably 90 degrees, but you'll feel a distinct difference when you wake up tomorrow morning. That's an example of a city. But everywhere else, pretty warm, moist air mass. So, and speaking of this cold front, I'm going to show you dew points here. Now, you're going to have a moist air mass. This is the cold front coming. Dew points is an excellent way to look at a changing of air masses. When you have dew points in the 50s and 40s, that's a crisp air mass. That's dry air. So we're getting into tomorrow. We're getting into Monday morning. We'll stop this. Here comes this cold front. Dew points in the 60s, the 70s for the Carolinas, all the way up to almost Boston, New York City. Dew points into the 60s. But we'll stop this Monday morning. But look at this push of dry air just pushing all the way through. Nashville, you'll wake up. You'll probably go to bed Sunday evening and it feels humid outside, but then you'll wake up Monday morning, for example. Memphis, Tennessee, same example. Little Rock, you'll probably go to bed Sunday evening and it feels very moist outside, but then you'll wake up Monday morning and you'll wake up and you'll be like, wow, fall is here. And that'll be the case. And then we get into Tuesday. Throughout the day, I think this dry air will push through the entire northern half of Alabama, Mississippi, the whole entire state of Tennessee, the entire Ohio Valley. And then by the time we wake up Tuesday morning, the dry air will be making its way all the way through Georgia, the Carolinas, Virginia, and it's really digging far south. And then, we get all the way into Wednesday morning, and it makes it all the way into the western areas of the panhandle of Florida. So you're waking up Wednesday morning, in most of the eastern U.S., besides, unfortunately, the peninsula of Florida, which you typically don't see cold fronts this time of the year, is waking up to a crisp fall air mass. How cool would the temperatures actually get? Because these aren't temperatures, these are dew points. We just don't know yet, but I think a lot of areas will see widespread temperatures in the upper 50s. So they'll see their first sub 60 degree temperature of the season. So it's definitely going to feel nice, I think, for a lot of the week next week. I think it'll be your first feel of cool air. So we'll see. We'll talk about this more as we get a little bit closer, which we already are pretty close. We're going to take a look at the GFS and then the European. The GFS, here we go. Earl moving on out. It's going to try to get really close to Newfoundland. But I don't think it's going to make any kind of bad impacts or anything. One thing you'll notice, we're getting to that time of the year, mid-September onward, we slowly start to get away from the main development region, and we start to slowly shift into the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico, especially as we get into late September, early October. So you're going to start to see a lot of crazy runs in the Gulf of Mexico. And sure enough, you look at the latest 06Z. First off, it doesn't show much at all in the tropical Atlantic. But one thing it keeps showing is some kind of piece of energy coming out the Gulf of Mexico, and then getting off the coast of the southeast right here around late next week. This is, September 16th, next Friday morning. And then, trying to become tropical, but then it really doesn't. But then you'll keep it rolling here. You got, you're at this point, you're, 10 to 15 days out. You got another tropical system that tries to pop up here. You're going to see this a lot. When you get to this time of the year, the convective feedback issues with the GFS is going to start to show a lot of crazy runs. But you also have to start to, actually factor in that, is this a legitimate signal or threat? And right now it's not, but we'll see if any kind of crazy stuff can work its way into the medium to short term. But right now, no. We look at the European model, and the only thing that I really see on the European model, which only goes 10 days out, is the wave that has a 30% chance to develop. And by the way, that one that was showing a hurricane in the middle of the main development region, what I tell you, sure enough, it is dwindled away and weakened as it's gotten into short-term model guidance. But we're going to watch this. Don't focus in on this. This little piece of energy stays weak, which is actually good for the system if it's going to survive any kind of long-term impacts. Earl kind of did the same thing. It stayed pretty weak. It didn't get completely dismantled, and eventually it got into a favorable atmosphere, environmental and aloft atmosphere, and it was able to develop. But this little piece of energy sticks around, and it makes it all the way north of the Leeward Islands, and then makes it all the way into the Caribbean islands here. And it never develops. But what you watch for is, even though this is 10 days out, does this eventually sneak into the Gulf of Mexico? You don't want anything sneaking into the Gulf of Mexico right now. And you see this with the ensembles. It shows the weaker members some of these L's. It's not a strong signal, but it shows a scenario where maybe this wave tries to make it into the Caribbean. So we'll watch for that. But thank y'all for struggling with this video with me. My voice is very hoarse, so I appreciate the support. You guys have an awesome day, and I'll be with you this evening if I don't cough myself to death. God bless.